Booters, what up? I'm Jarogba, to my left.
Lord Mahazi.
And before we get into our very special guest, I just want to say this episode of Suited and Booted is brought to you by Club Marconi, your home away from home. For over 65 years, Marconi's been at the heart of Australian football, from legends to the next generation. And it's not just about the game. It's the food, the mates you make, the atmosphere. It's unmatched. So grab your friends, grab a slice, and get down to Club Marconi, where football, food, and fun come together. Now, we are joined by the number 10, the Puma Kings, the flowy hair, the legend, Nicky Carle. What's going on, brother?
All good, mate. Big introduction. I wasn't that good, man.
I was watching highlights this morning because I was up at a stupid hour. And I thought, wow, Australia football hasn't had a player like this in a very long time. But
we saw some iconic moments, man. But off the pod, you've just said this is your first podcast ever.
Yes.
Welcome to the game, mate.
Welcome to the game.
Nice to be on. I'm not one for social media, but funny enough, I've seen a lot of you guys, so you must be doing something.
What have you seen? Have you seen the comedic stuff, like the comedy
Bit
skits?
of both.
Or? Okay,
I more like it when it's the serious football stuff.
Do ya?
Yeah.
That's good to hear. That's probably the first person ever.
That is probably the first person ever
Yeah,
that actually cares about our football team. Rather than just be dumb, be funny.
I like when it's opinionated about football. I think it's important to be able to say the good and bad stuff, make the game better.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Nick, let's just go back to growing up. Talk to us about where you grew up, what football meant to you, who introduced it to you, like what was your sort of origin story with football?
Okay, obviously a Western Sydney boy, which we all know is heartland of football.
Yeah.
Migrant families, so that was my upbringing around football. Migrant family, all we did was know football. The poor man's sport, everyone played it no matter what. So I grew up playing that. My early memories were watching World Cups. I think that made me love the game. That made me want to be a professional. My era, a bit older than you boys, was watching Maronei in the World Cups. Yeah, so that for me was wow. I want to be like him. Ended up with the Puma Kings. Nowhere near as good as him, but the Puma Kings.
That was right. Yeah.
But
what a boot.
But look, growing up, it was pure football, and when I got to an age, I knew what I wanted to do. I was very focused and committed, and felt that as a young kid, I had different qualities to what we normally see in the Australian game.
Great point. It leads me to it's a perfect segue. What qualities are you talking about?
Well, I was a very technical player for Australian standard back then. So I felt my best part of my game, I was very dominant with the ball. I was a super hard worker, which went unnoticed. I think I got criticised a lot for my work rate, which was never an issue. Actually, my stats always showed that I was the hardest worker. Was I genetically an athlete? No, I was horrible. Could not run.
Well, that's the
best.
Right.
What I do want to say to you before you move any further away from genetic athlete, Jake did say, shout out the number 10, he's not here with us today, but he did say that you had the biggest, most beautiful legs he's ever seen.
Look,
that was part of me. I was a strong boy when I was young, very dominant with the ball. Technically, I thought I was really good, but I was free. I would express myself, which I felt at 14, 15, without sounding arrogant, I was probably well ahead of the age group and of the players around me at that age, where getting older, I think whether it got taken away from me or driven out of me.
That's the point I want to make.
Unintentionally, of course. But I guess I do feel that as a younger player coming through, mate, I was part of the under-23s, the Olympic team. I did 2 Olympic campaigns. Didn't make the final squads, but I was part of it. Unheard of as a 15-year-old with 20, 21-year-olds. I felt I was well above where I should have been, but I don't think whether that was the 2-3 year period with Olympic that I was rated so highly that I kept getting put on the bench and not getting big minutes. And then after that, the constant move the ball and not letting me be as creative. And I look back to my back end, I was more of a clever player, used to find pockets and play balls instead of run the ball. And when I was young, it was give me the ball and I'll...
Can I just ask about your heritage? You said migrant family. Is it correct online that's Uruguayan and Chilean, or is that
No,
wrong?
that's correct.
That is correct. Okay.
Uruguayan, Chilean background, born
But grew
here.
up here.
Yes.
Okay.
When I was younger, I did not. I was like, why? This is how stupid I was. Why does he play so South American? He looks South American, and his name was just, for some reason, I don't know, especially how the Aussie commentators saying Nicky Carle.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, what? But yeah, it makes sense now. But going back to that, Flair, you play with Flair. There's this whole new discussion around coaching the flair out of players, especially in 2025 compared to 10, 15, 20 years ago, even further back. Did you ever feel like it was coached out of you to the point where you were being punished because how you played? That could have been at 15 or it could have been at 30.
No, look, I think these days it's a lot worse.
Yeah.
I don't think it was intentional back then. Second Olympic Games, which I felt I was a shoo-in for, which I didn't end up making the final squad. I had a phone call off record with Frank at the time, who was the coach, Frank Farina, and he left me out. I'd just been with the national team, debuted for the national team in Venezuela and got left out 2 months later. And I spoke to him about it and told me that on stats I'd turned over a bit more possession, and hearing stuff like that sort of then puts a perception in your head that you need to change, which was super disappointing because I look at it back now, older, being involved in the game for a long time. I might have lost it 2 or 3 times, but my fourth one was a one-on-one and we score a goal.
Yeah.
And more and more these days with compact defences and how people set up, you need someone that can create something different and can do something special. And yeah, I felt I was punished for it a bit, which was disappointing. And I felt to the back end of my career, I became a bit of a different player.
Is that because they've conditioned you to, or is that just with age you maybe became a bit more clever?
No, I definitely feel it was conditioned into me.
Yeah.
So if I watch myself back to when I was young to where I was finishing my career, I definitely feel it was the messages repeatedly that I got from coaches. Obviously, some were brilliant, some were really good, and some were, well, not as many touches, turnover of possession, but we're talking about final third, where...
I was the same as you, right? Like, we crossed paths A-League level, but a little bit of my background, I played South America, right?
I've seen that, I've heard that.
And
Do you speak the language?
Yeah, Spanish.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do, yeah. Learning German right now, doing my best.
I know nothing, mate.
Can you tell us, like, where did the flair come from? Was that coached into you at a young age? Where was the intention to be that type of a flowy type of a player?
Or was it natural?
I played lots of futsal, which I think was phenomenal. I idolised footballers that were creative players. But being South American, that was just what you knew what to do. But I felt, we'll touch on it in terms of coaching these days. It's, I believe, overcoached. We had two sessions a week at a park, which is very different to what young kids are getting these days.
Yeah.
But all of the ball 24/7. Trampoline out the back, flipped up, free kicks, dive in, mate's house, hallway, ball, punch-ons.
Yeah.
Breaking
Just
neighbours'
free
glass.
access.
But it was
Play.
very free, just play, which I felt encouraged the street football model that a lot of people are trying to go back to. Where I feel these days, modern days, it's about how it looks. Oh, we got a million passes, it looks really good, but we're not giving kids freedom. And when you look at it, back in when I was growing up, people didn't do this for money. Modern football, I think it's ridiculous the amount of it's becoming a rich man's sport, which is scary. The private academy game, which I want to make clear, I got nothing against people having their own academy, a parent paying for a service, but people are actually paying more for the kid to succeed these days. So it's sort of like an expectation from a coaching perspective. We got to show them that we're doing something for them paid.
That's a good point.
It's a great point.
So,
You got to, it's about the show, right? A
yeah,
lot of the
of course
time
it
it's
is.
about
So
the show.
I watch, which again, I'm. It's a real touchy subject, but I'm big on knowing that all these kids should be at clubland. I do believe there's a space for academies for doing their extras. I look at modern day compared to where I was, social media, backyard sizes. So I know it can't be like when we were young, but I also think we're going too far the other way, where academies are becoming the prime, which kids are going to be at club football. The better kids always played against each other at club football.
We always said that.
They got to be at club football. They do the extras academies, no problems at all. I understand the place for them, but going back to my point, if parents are paying so much, I believe coaches are forced to show that the kid's getting better in a way. So when you rock up to under 8s, under 9s, and all you have to do is jump online and look for it, you see under 8s teams playing like Barcelona.
Yeah.
I don't think that's creating better footballers long term. Technically, they're going to be a little bit better, but I believe we're creating robots.
Yeah.
What it is it's coaching them to understand systems. That's all it is. It is no, like, again, I'm not in this world, but you guys are. How many coaches are saying, go son, dribble, take him on, be free, express?
Yeah, but you're right. Talking about your upbringing, right, which was play.
Yes.
Playing games, right? And that's exposing you to every variable in the real game. Actual real variables, right?
Yep.
And you develop them naturally from playing. But the problem is, if they're paying $5,000 to come to that academy and then they're just playing and the coach is just standing there watching them play, the parent's going to be like, what the fuck, I'm paying $5,000. Right?
Yeah.
So you're right. About
And hence where's my point goes back to it. And again, like I said, I just want to make it clear, it's not a go at any private academy. I think if a parent chooses to pay someone to do a service, then that's their business,
So be it, yeah.
So be it. But it's a slippery slope in terms of what I like to see creative players, which I think they're becoming a rare breed.
Rare is an understatement.
Yeah, because this is a worldwide thing, right? Like, it's happening everywhere. It's not just here.
Yeah.
But I mean, here obviously is
Oh,
the
look, I think-
commercialisation of the junior academies. But
Probably US and Australia would be the two more commercialised in terms of private academy sector.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're not going to get that in Brazil.
But I was talking about.
but we're going more on a
But I was talking about
user pay system as opposed
Yeah.
to places in Europe where they're
But I was
spending
talking
the
about the style of play.
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
Because
Yeah,
everywhere
yeah.
around the world is now two-touch system
a lot.
from a very young age.
Like the
except
top
for
leagues.
maybe the South Americans are still.
and the Africans, man.
yeah. AFCON's the best.
Mate, I love watching Africans play. I watch,
out, man.
love watching South Americans play because
Yeah.
you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I hate watching football when it's predictable. I like watching when a player can do something different. Yeah.
Yeah. So
My footballing style
of
and
course,
opinion.
of course. So going back to the timeline. So you're at my Sydney Olympic,
Yep.
doing well, and then how does the move to France come about? Because it's a big step up.
I probably think at that point a little bit too big for me at the time.
Yeah. So what's why in Ligue 1 or no?
They were League One. They came seventh
Wow.
the year. I was
wow.
the first year. Yeah, we're talking. Well, I was blessed that they had Alan Perrin at the time. He
Yeah.
brought me over mid-season, and I'd replaced a player who'd moved on to a big club, Rodden, which, mate, there was no comparison. The guy was a freak.
Yeah.
I got a rude shock that when I went to France, where in Australia I felt I was super technical and above the normal standard for technique, where I went to France and everyone was It was ridiculous. So my physical attributes that didn't help me, you could see in France. Technically, everyone was phenomenal. I really enjoyed my time there. First 6 months, I was 20 at the time, I think.
So young.
Was lucky enough that it was African Nations Cup at the time, so they need players to come in, and I started playing straight away, which was phenomenal. I remember I'd got a few games off the bench, started with Team 1, and probably to date one of the most impressed coaches in a short period of time with Alain Perrin. He didn't start me the next game. We went to PSG with Ronaldinho and Okocha in the team, and a prime Ronaldinho. And I was burning that I wasn't starting because I'd played well, and a 20-year-old, I couldn't get it. And I got to the stadium and absolutely shit myself. Looked at all the people and the size of it, and seen Ronaldinho and Okocha coming out, and the penny dropped, and I understood. I got to come on that game, started the next game at home against Bordeaux,
What an experience.
which we won, played super well, and did my knee.
Wow.
So I got 5 games, did my knee, had an operation, flew back to Perth because Olympic had made the final in Perth, and I really wanted to see the boys, which they did, which was phenomenal.
Yeah, awesome.
Great memories for me. Flew back to France, and I had really impressed in that period. I'd done really well, and got to the change room and had the 10 hanging up for me, which was massive. I thought, I'm going to have a great year here. Change of coach, second division coach came up. If memory serves me right, Alain Perrin went to Marseille, then England in the Prem. Changed everything for me. Brought his players in that he rated from the second division. We went from coming 7th that year to getting relegated, and didn't play under him. I remember playing one game as a left wing back, which was not me.
You were left wing back.
I played one game as a left wing back with the 10 on, and just didn't play that year. Probably debatable whether I made the right decision to come home or not. The reasonings behind it was because I had the Olympic team at the time, Franks and Arnie, saying you need to be playing regular football in the first division. So I felt I wanted to play in the Olympics.
Of course.
For me, there was no bigger honour than playing for your national team. So I wanted to do everything. I was a part of the Olympic campaign. I obviously wasn't good enough to make the first Olympic. I was super young. But the second one, I felt it was my time and wanted to be a part of it. So I decided to come home for that reason. Same coach had stayed. If the same coach didn't stay, I would have stayed in the second division.
I hear this all the time of a new coach coming in, bringing his players from the previous club and being like, I'm not even going to fucking look at you.
Look, for me, it was tough. I was a foreigner, and in France at the time, you're allowed 4 or 5 only. So it makes it tough. Where if I felt he was surely going to get sacked, not that I wished it on him, but I felt we got relegated. The youth team had done super well, and at the time, some of the young players that were coming through were phenomenal. Karim Ziani, Mamadou Niang,
was he there?
Ibrahim
Yeah, I remember him.
Bagua. So, and I had some older players, which the first year I was there was Patrice Loco, and I was like, wow. So I was very lucky to have those players in my change room. So from a training perspective, was phenomenal. Even from a playing, although we played, the youth team there played 2 divisions down of what the first team was in. We ended up winning at that. We couldn't go up because first grade had come down, but I felt there would be a change.
So you come back to Australia with Marconi?
Yeah.
Straight after France. Is this purely because of just not getting minutes there and stuff like that?
Not getting minutes, and I want the real reason was I wanted to be part of the Olympics squad.
Yeah.
So I got back. I remember because got my debut at Olympic and being an Olympic at the time. There was a coach there that gave me my youth debut at Olympic in the first grade. Sort of wasn't interested for whatever reason. I had Parramatta Power call me, which back then was splashing the cash around, but I had JP call me, and my relationship with JP goes John Paul Di Marini.
No way.
He was your coach,
Shout out
wasn't he?
JP.
Yeah,
he
so
brought me to Wanderers. He was at victory with me?
Yeah, so my relationship with him was a love-hate relationship. And I'll explain because I absolutely love him to death. But he coached me at under 10s or 11s at Marconi.
Mate, he's crazy.
He was playing in the old NSL and was
right.
coaching me. Then for 4 or 5 years later, he came across with 3 or 4 players to Olympic. And I went, wow, I'm a 15-year-old doing pre-season with first grade. JP's here. Oh, wow, was I wrong. He kicked the living shit out of me.
Is he a tough guy?
Mate, he was tough and proper old school.
Yeah.
And honestly, as a 15-year-old punk, I hated him that year. Honestly, I had Seka, who was our captain at the time, and absolutely loved Seka because he used to kick the shit out of me. But then I'd kick Seka and he would say, well done, that's what you got to do. So it was a different approach. JP was a lot older, more old school.
Yeah.
And Seka was, for me, mate, what a legend of a captain, was phenomenal. So I was different views, and I got back and he called me, and I think back now, he didn't realise the perception I had of him as a coach to then as a teammate, yeah?
Right.
I don't think he'll know to today the difference of perception. And then he rang me and said, I want you to come to Marconi. And
So he was playing at Marconi at the time?
he was coaching.
Oh, he was coaching.
He retired
yeah.
coaching.
Yeah.
And I thought, there's no chance I want to go play for him.
Right.
If he was like a player, there's no way.
Right.
I would have, honestly, and he worked his ass off to get me. Parramatta Power splashing the cash. His offer was nowhere near as good. I wanted to play minutes, but he showed me that he really wanted me. Thought I'll give him a go, mate, and I absolutely loved him as a coach.
Yeah, me too.
He was brilliant, man. I speak so highly of him as a coach. So hence why I say the love-hate. I didn't really hate him. He was very old
You were
school.
15 too.
I was 15.
He's hard, bro. He's not gonna
So
give you
it was like, what are you
time.
doing? The younger kids look after him. And because I knew him, thought, he's going to look after me here. But I guess that was the old school mentality. So that's not having a go. It was just how it was.
I'll tell you a quick story just of his style, right? We're doing extra session after an A-League game. I can't remember which one. And it was the next day. We hadn't played that many minutes. So it was like the players that didn't play that many minutes doing an extra session, right? And me and some of the younger boys. A ball gets passed into one of the young boys. He goes to stop it. This is on Gotcha's paddock, so it's bumpy as hell. Then the ball bobbles. You know what it's like.
Yeah.
The ball bobbles, boom, hits the top of his shoe, goes up here, and JP stops the whole drill. He goes, how the fuck has your first touch gone above your fucking head? And we just lost it, dying laughing. But he's the greatest guy, biggest heart as well,
he's
right?
got a super heart and a great person. He was just me being a young kid and going, wait, this guy's going to look after me. It probably was his way of toughening me up. But as a coach, I absolutely loved him and found a really good bond with him again, because from a young kid, I looked up to him. He was a first grader coming, giving up his time to come coach us, to them being teammates, and I went, wow. But yeah, some of the 2-foot tackles he used to put in that training, and I was good for a 2-foot tackle, I'm telling you. I was a tough little boy when I came through. But yeah, man, some of his tackles, you were like, are you joking? So yeah, it was a different era, but came back. I had a phenomenal year under him. I think I got in the top 5 players of the league. The highs and lows of football, I got picked in the top 5 and then named out of the Olympic squad a few weeks later. So, which was for me my biggest disappointment in terms of my career, those Olympics, because I felt I deserved it. I know I missed out on World Cups, but in my generation, making the World Cup squads, we had some super players. So my position.
Can you name some of the Olympics ones that are getting picked ahead of you in that? Because you're, 20 years old around that time?
Yeah, I was, I'd have been around 21.
Okay.
Just 23, 21, 22. It was my age group. I'm not going to go into names because they were my mates and they were good footballers. A perception of maybe... And they were very good footballers, but I felt I was good enough at the time. So no, I won't go into names. Then when you fast forward years to when I did make the World Cup, I felt I could have offered something, being the player, but when you look at the squad, the players that were ahead of me and the players that I was around in the national team, I could understand. Not that I don't believe I could have been a part of it, but there's an argument both ways where with the Olympics, those Olympics, I definitely felt I'd done enough.
The reason I asked that question is because if you're saying you were top 5 in the league for that year, then I'm going to assume the players that got picked would be playing. Were they playing in Europe and stuff, or what?
No, some were. Some weren't. You had the overage rule that you could bring players down.
Yeah, okay,
so that time, which was 2 attacking players, memory serves me right. I'm 90% sure Aloisi came down, which was a massive player, killing it in Spain. Timmy Cahill came down, who was an attacking midfielder. In my position and was
not bad players.
Killing it. Good, very good players.
Yeah.
And I think Craig Moore, if memory serves me right, went to that Olympic. I'm sure there was one more, and I apologise with my memory, but I still felt I was good enough to be part of that squad, and I could have contributed.
So your time at Marconi, it's got 6 goals in 25 games, which is, from your position, it sounds like you had a ball that year. You're saying you got top 5 in the league as well. I guess the A-League comes in the year you're ending at Marconi?
Yeah, so I actually played half a season in the old NPL, whatever you want to call it, Premier League at the time, whatever it was. We all did.
Yeah.
The old NSL collapsed, and there was a long wait before the A-League started. So everyone played, so I stayed and played at Marconi for a few more months.
Yeah.
And then headed up to Newcastle.
So would you say this is the peak of your powers at Newcastle Jets or no?
By far.
Yeah.
By far. So I felt at Marconi I was really good.
Yeah.
For that year, I played really well. I was very dominant by then, and I know I was a probably 21, 22-year-old kid at that time. But for me, I wasn't a kid no more. I'd been around the change rooms for 7 years. I wasn't perceived as a younger player no more. I'd had 150 or 140 games in the old NSL under my belt already.
Out.
So I felt I was an older player at Marconi. And when I went to Jets, I felt that was my most dominant I played in my career.
How was Jets when the league was starting? For the younger people listening who don't know how packed the stadium used to be and the F3 Derby and just the iconic gold kit and there's iconic players there. How was that arriving there when everyone's excited about the new A-League that is about to start?
I get emotional about it because I was very lucky, played at some very good clubs, super grateful and loved and enjoyed my time at Olympic because that was coming through as a youngster, no pressure. But I felt the Jets was where I performed my best. The city got behind me, and being the sort of player I am, if people trust you and they're confident with you, I perform better, and I say I became a big part of the start of the Jets and the supporter base there. I was super lucky that we had a phenomenal camaraderie in the group. A lot of players came from different places into a city, a small city, a beautiful city, and for me, I'd live up there tomorrow if I could. But playing there was probably my most enjoyable part of my career, the 2 seasons, and absolutely loved it. The crowd, the city got behind us. I say this story. We'd played Melbourne Victory at the back end of the year, and they were coming first, and we'd had a slow start. Gary Van Egmond came in the second season. If you look at the back 14 games, we were top of the table.
Incredible.
We beat Victory 4-0 that day, or 4-1. We absolutely destroyed him. Muscat walked off through his armband, which he did. And by the way, I love Muscat. When I went to national teams with him, I couldn't believe how good technically he was, with the perception of being him being a hard man. Mate, you want that guy on your side every day of the week. But we'd absolutely smashed him. And they had Yarchies, Freds, Muskie, Allsop.
Yeah.
They were the form team. But I felt we were better. We had their number. And we went to Adelaide for the major semi-finals. We beat Sydney home and away. Then we went for the one-off game in Adelaide, and we lost on penalties. But the moral of the story is we had like 1,000 people come say goodbye to us in town centre before we were going to fly out to Adelaide. Man, it was not normal how much they got behind us, and they're super passionate, the Novocastrians, and I felt a part of them, so absolutely loved my time there. How do we win that penalty shootout? Archie doesn't score 5 goals that final, I promise. Yeah.
I don't know if we've spoken to someone before that's gone directly from NSL into the A-League.
I don't think we have.
No.
I don't think we
so.
have.
What was that experience like, going directly from the NSL into the A-League?
What were the major differences, you would say, off the bat?
Well, start of NSL, me growing up and seeing the NSL and start of NSL, mate, what a buzz. Super players, super talented. Lots of young kids got opportunities because we had so many numbers. It was 18, 9 or 20 teams, whatever it was. More opportunities, less foreigners. So there was a lot more opportunities for young kids to play. The standard was really good. I really enjoyed it. Crowds were really good. To the back end, the last year when I was at Marconi and loved my time there, you could tell the crowds had dropped off. The talk of the A-League was coming in. So I felt it died off a bit. And the start of the A-League was, everyone was looking forward to it. So look, yeah, from our perspective, it was a nervy stage. I remember going from a full-time player from the age of 15 to being told that, well, maybe it's not a full-time job at a point when the old NSL finished, where I didn't believe that in my head. I knew I still wanted to play professional, and the A-League coming in gave us all that opportunity. I do believe a lot of good players got missed in that transition.
Right.
I do believe a lot of good players got missed in the transition, and a lot of young players were missed in a gap because when the A-League came in, there wasn't youth teams straight away. So
true.
I do feel that a lot of young players felt there was no pathway, and a lot of the older boys, because of the number of teams as opposed to what there was, could have easily played at the level, which didn't.
How about crowds and game day experience from the stadium perspective?
Well, at the start of the NSL was phenomenal. That was there. The crowds were there. The passion was there. And then the A-League started, and it just got better and better and better. I know it's gone through a tough period, but the start, I mean, for me, Newcastle, we're getting 13, 14, 15,000 people at the games.
And that the numbers you were getting then?
They were
and that's a
behind
smaller
us.
club, bro.
Yeah, but
in
it
Newcastle,
was...
that's mad.
In
that's
Newcastle.
Mate, it was next level, and they loved you.
Yeah.
So it was brilliant. I was blessed to play in that era where it started.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What
Great
about
times.
because a lot of people, and it's an age old, and it's very hard to compare because you were younger playing NSL. In terms of the peak of NSL for you and when you were playing in A-League, what was the difference in quality? Because you said a lot of players missed out that could have played A-League.
Yeah, but numbers. It came to a numbers game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Remember, I think the A-League started with 10 to 12 teams only.
Yeah.
We had 18 teams
Yeah.
in the old NSL. So I felt some of the older boys still made it, but some didn't.
Yeah.
That were at the level. I'll argue black and blue. Some of the players I played with in the old NSL, wow, I was lucky enough. Your Mendeses, Cardozos, there are a few, but the one that I think everyone who's played with him, which didn't play as much in the national team, was Troy Halpin. The guy was a magician. I'm not sure if
I don't even know that name.
Troy Halpin?
Wow.
I don't even
At
know that name.
Olympic, Perth Glory, in the old NSL. The guy was probably one of the most talented players that I played with in the old NSL. Novocastrian.
Yeah.
Probably mentally way ahead of everyone, so he would get very frustrated easy.
Right.
But on his day, wow, and I'll go back to that era of me coming through. Anyone who played with him would go, this guy was next level.
So you end up winning the Johnny Warren Medal, which is the best player of the A-League, in 2006.
I don't want to put myself down here, yeah?
Why not?
I felt I was better the first year.
Oh, really?
I still think I was good the second year. But I felt I might have got lucky here, and this is not putting myself down. The big team that year was Melbourne Victory.
Yeah.
And Archie Thompson that year, Fred that year, Allsop, Muscat were all next level in
Got
that
me
team.
into football.
What I felt worked on my side was, I guess their votes got, because it was voted by players back then.
Yeah.
So I guess most players would vote 1 or 2 from Victory.
Yeah.
The rivalry there. Right. I'm not saying I didn't deserve it, but I have to say I'm sure Fred, the Brazilian. Do you guys remember Fred?
Yeah, of course.
Man, he was...
That
Archie.
period of Victory made you sort of love football in Melbourne more.
Archie that
like
season. Muskie, which I guess it's tougher as a defender, and Allsop were all... Had any of them got him, no one would have said it. Or I wouldn't have said anything because they were brilliant that year.
So I was actually... There's a recent goal that Nikos Virgos has scored for Victory that is exactly... It's so weird. It is exactly the same as your goal of the season.
Yeah. That was the same season.
That was the same season.
Yes.
That goal, I mean... Was that just young you? Just, I'm going to get the ball and just go.
Yeah, it was. It was young me. Credit has to go to Jade North. I don't know if you know the story behind it.
No.
Where 1-1, Gary had just come in. We were struggling before that. I think we'd picked up 4 points in 7 games with a really good squad. They make the change, and I felt that game was probably the turnaround of the season for us. But 1-1, they get a header. It's going top corner, 2-1 with a few minutes to go. Jado handballs it out. They get a penalty, miss a penalty. A minute later, I go up and score.
Oh.
So there's a story behind
like
it.
89th minute, wasn't it? Or something like that?
Yes.
Can I ask you, toe or outside of the foot?
Bit of both.
It was. Harper says, bit of both.
Bit of both.
He's right, okay.
But let's be honest, with my pace, there's no way in hell I would have scored that goal if it wasn't for Griffo blocking, which in today's game, VAR wouldn't have been allowed. So I know Griffo always loves pumping himself up. That it was because of him. So, yeah, I'll give him credit for that as well.
So I read this online, and I don't know how true it is, but did you say that the A-League season was too short in terms of you needing minutes to then play national team football?
Back then it was.
Yep. Fair, I agree.
It was. It was way too short. Off-season was way too long. Actually, when I made the Asian Cup squad, I had to sign for Olympic and go play in the Premier League or the...
What?
Yeah, so I played for Olympic for a 5 or 6 game stint to keep myself fit to go to the Asian Cup. So,
Oh my
So
God. So how many games were they playing at the time, and how long was off
I
season?
think it was 21 games we had. Was it 8 teams? It was 8 teams,
Okay.
wasn't it? Hence, it was 8
Yeah,
teams
back then
only
it
at the
would have
start.
been,
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure it was 8 teams, 21 games. So the break was ridiculously long.
Yeah.
Pre-seasons were ridiculously long. And I remember after that season that I got Player of the Year, I went and signed for Olympic.
That is...
Con gave me permission, which I was contracted for another 4 or 5 years at the time, gave me permission to go play at Olympic so that I could go to the Asian Cup with games under my belt.
So you basically went from, A-League, but then you went and played NPL straight into the Asia Cup.
Yes. Yeah.
to get minutes.
Well,
because-
get minutes.
that was me. I wanted... Being... My physical conditioning was never... I was never an athlete, yeah? I worked super hard, but I wasn't an athlete. So I knew I needed to be playing, and I would have done anything to be playing. I love playing, so I had no issues doing that, and I didn't see it as a downright. I'm 99% sure that I went from an NPL game playing against, I can't remember
I know
who
where this is going.
to an international game playing against Uruguay on the same weekend. Yeah.
That's
So-
crazy.
Even now, I think it's 26 or something, plus the Oz Cup, which adds a few more games. I still think it's too short now, because if you're looking at Europe, most leagues are doing somewhere around 35, 36, plus all the other competitions they play in. The off-season is still very long. I was speaking to current players, and they're like, bro, it's fucked.
And especially for the younger development ages where you can back up, where you do want the big games. So I agree. The more football, let's be honest, the MPL squads are getting more games this year.
Yeah. Heidelberg.
With the Australian Championship.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mate, you're talking 40 games without friendlies. So you're looking at a 50-game season for the Australian Championship squads. Without Heidelberg, that they will go more.
Oh, yeah. Heidelberg with Oz Cup, Oz Championship, MPL finals, the friendlies. When you all add it up, it'll be around there. So, excuse my pronunciation of this. Genjlerbiligi.
I can't say it.
Come on, give us yours.
Genjlerbiligi. How does that move come about? Are they in the top flight at this point?
They were at the top flight back then. Actually, if memory serves me right, the only president that had owned 2 teams in the first division in the world at that point.
Is that even legal?
Well, I don't know. But
What? 2 teams in the same first division?
yes, he owned both. So Miles Sturjowski at the time,
Yes.
an agent at the time, said I got options, I can get you over there, and I was itchy to move after the second year of the A League. I was 24 at the time. I felt till that point in football I hadn't made money. I played, but I hadn't made money.
And you had the peak of your
I had
powers.
my peak. My firstborn was born in Newcastle. Had my family, and I felt I needed to make my money. I needed to get back to Europe somehow. And at that point, not having a European passport always made it really hard. So I got an offer in Turkey. Funny enough, I flew over to sign to have a medical with Trabzon.
Yep, big club.
When I flew, I went and got off the plane, went and met with the officials there. Something happened between the agents. The next day I get put on a plane and flown to Ankara and signed with Gençlerbirliği. Sturjowski then comes there, and we're literally in the same camp, using the same training fields, playing for 2 different teams in the first division.
Bro, that is so wild.
That
I've
would
never
not
heard-
fly this. Like, I've heard of multi-club. Chelsea's in one. But same league is in... There's a massive conflict
Mate,
of interest.
same training
it's a conflict
facility.
of
Same
interest.
training facility.
I kid you not.
What the hell?
What?
I did just notice you said something. You were 24 in your season when you got the Johnny Warren.
Yes.
Is that the youngest one ever? Who else? Who else younger than that has got a Johnny Warren?
He would have been around 23, 24.
It probably was. I'm not going to fact check it, but it probably was.
Yeah,
I don't
might
have
look.
internet on here. But
You go. I might look.
yeah. So landing in Turkey, it's obviously crazy there. You're only there for the one season,
No, 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
So
I found it very tough there.
for what reasons?
From a football perspective, was insane. I got to play against some really good players. The food was next level. Probably
Yes.
the best food in the world, man.
You're staying in
by
a nice
far.
city as well.
Yeah,
Beautiful
it was.
city.
No, I had no issues with that. I just wasn't used to their regime. I lived in camp.
Wow.
I had a newborn. I think my boy was 9-10 months when we flew there. My wife and my son were in an apartment 5 minutes down the road, and I never used to get to see them. I'd leave a 8 in the morning. I wasn't home till 9 at night.
So they
you'd
just
be
kept you
asleep.
there the whole day.
Would go in, you'd have breakfast at the club, you'd go out to train, you'd come in, have lunch, you'd go up to your rooms. Everyone had their own rooms. You'd sleep, rest, go out to your second afternoon session.
Fucking hell.
But this was every day. You didn't have a day off there. Their training regime was next level. Day after the game, we used to do a recovery, and they used to put us on the heart rate and used to get to a certain heart rate. It was just impossible. I felt that because I wasn't enjoying the regime, I didn't get the best out of myself. Although I understood why they did it, for myself, I couldn't adapt to that. Having my family down the road and not being able to see them, having my wife and my little one 5 minutes down the road and literally being camped the whole time.
like
And you'd go into camp 2 days before your game. On a big game was always 2 days before, normal game day before. So you'd go in on a Friday morning, not leave till Saturday night after the game. So I found that really tough, to the point that at that point, I was ready to give it up.
Already?
I was ready to give the game up. I was on a 3.5-year contract, and I had no way out. They paid money for me. I was on a contract. My saving grace was that I got called into a national team game. Had a coach at the time that started me, and I did really well. We played Nigeria. We played in a diamond midfield, played the top of the diamond. 90% sure it was Harry and Scotty up top. And I had a blinder that day. I felt like I was on top of my game. In Turkey, I never felt fresh before a game. I flew over for the national team camp, met up with Stojoskis and the Emertons for a few days. I had a few days off and recovered and then played. And because I was so fit, because we worked so hard in Turkey, I had a blinder. Felt I'd performed really well. I'd got back to Turkey and had offers. But at that point, once I got the offers, I was lucky enough my translator told me about it because they didn't want to tell me about it.
So you got the offers in January?
Yes.
So Bristol comes about in January?
Yes, mid-season.
Wow.
Christmas.
Yeah.
So few clubs rang at the time. Club didn't want to tell me. They didn't want to let me go. I told them that I was ready to retire at the time.
Wow.
To please let me go. And they were brilliant. They let me go. The coach said to me, "Why?" Mind you, I had 4 coaches in the 6 months that I was there. And I explained that I just couldn't do their regime. I had my family, didn't want to do it. And he approved letting me go, which very grateful to this day because I was ready to give it up. And I go to Bristol and played the back end of the year there. I had 3 moves in a year.
Wow.
Where we lost the playoff game to Hull City, where Richie Garcia was playing at the time.
Yeah.
So it was either one of the Aussies getting
One of
pushed
the
up
Aussies
to the Prem.
That was at Wembley?
Wembley.
How was that?
Wow.
Because Bristol...
One of the best and worst experiences I've had of my life. And it's crazy. I look back on it and go, I was that passionate about getting to the national team. Had we won that day, we had a massive event that was going to be held back at Bristol. But I told them that I wasn't going to go, even if we'd gone up, because I wanted to get to camp early to go to the World Cup.
So this is a championship play. This is a playoff to get into the Prem.
To Prem.
Oh, but then...
And Richie, look, I love Richie to death. Richie's a really close teammate I had, so I was super happy for him. But the atmosphere on the day was next level.
I've been to a
80,000
playoff.
people,
Yeah.
half red and half orange. A phenomenal atmosphere. Windass goal. I felt
Dean Windass.
I felt at the start of the game we were on top. I felt we were better. I think it really hurt us. We had an injury early on in the game. At the back end of my time at Bristol, I'd managed to win my position, and I was starting in Gary Johnson was my coach, his son's position. So I'd kept his son out in the last 4 or 5 games, league game. She was injured or suspended, and Lee was a phenomenal player. But that's where I wanted to play. We had Marv Elliott, who was a big, strong boy, covered the ground. You couldn't have both of us in the middle of the park. I didn't feel that suited, especially in the championship, because we were a footballing team. So back end, I was starting in central position, because in the 4-4-2, they played me out wide, which didn't suit me. They played me in behind, which didn't suit me. The second striker, which in the 4-4-2, I felt better. I was your ball playing midfield. And I started, me and Marv, in that game. I felt we were doing really well. And I think 15, 20 minutes in, our right back at the time was a phenomenal player, cracks his head up against the post. Bloodstock comes in out, comes off, puts Marv to right back, our engine of our team, and brought his boy on. I believe Lee was as good as me, if not better footballer than me. So I'm not having a go at Lee.
But two similar players.
I felt that really hurt us at the time. But he comes on.
Who'd you have up top in that team?
Oh, you're killing me here.
Or any players of note, because around then I was watching a lot of the playoffs around that era, because I just felt like it was almost as exciting as the Premier League. Like
Mate, it was good. We had some good players.
Yeah.
But yeah, we end up losing that game, and I felt I did really well in that period, and Palace came in for me.
Now, is it Warnock at the start or no?
It was Warnock. Warnock brought me.
Okay, let's just get into this, right? Because everyone has
Warnock,
a fascination with this guy.
Mate, this guy is a legend. I absolutely love Neil Warnock. Me and him did not mix at all, footballing sense, yeah?
I realise.
My biggest mistake of my life in terms of football was going to play under Neil Warnock, but I loved Neil Warnock. One of the best.
Is the public perception the same as what he is behind?
Mate, he's one of the best man managers I had, yeah? I had him for years, and after a week, I realised I didn't suit him when I went to pick up the ball for centre-back. He go, what are you doing? And I went, defender, midfielder, attacker. No. Alan Lee, you run him behind. This guy had no idea I had no pace, and I couldn't run him behind. And my touches went from 40 to 50 a game at Bristol to 10 to 15 a game off second balls. So I love my time there. I hated my football there because of the style. But that was his style. I have nothing against him playing his style. It's irrelevant if I agree or disagree, but we knew what he wanted. But as a man manager, what a legend, man.
Is there one story that you remember from him, or something that you can tell us about him that just sums him up, or like maybe something that the public doesn't know?
Man manager, I'll give you an example. I got sent off. I'd been there a few months. I was starting every game at the start. And I was known, I think I got sent off 5 or 6 times in my career, and 5 of them were for 2-foot tackles. So I was known for a tackle. But I'd done a bad tackle, got sent off, week's wage, whatever it was. My wife wanted to kill me, but irrelevant. I'd only been there a few months, and when I'm sitting with the boys and international break was coming up and my wife was flying home, the boys go ask him. I've been there all of 3 months or something, and I'm going, I've just got sent off. There is no way in hell this guy's going to let me fly home to take my family. They go, you don't know him well enough. Go ask him. So after just getting sent off, I go knock on his door. I walk in. He goes, what do you want, lad? I said, look, Gaff, missus is flying home. Do you mind if I go? International break coming up. Haven't seen the family for a while. I'll drop him off, stay a few days and come back. Turns around to his assistant at the time and asks, how many games has he played? Yeah. Looked at me and said, you'll train for me there, won't you? And I went, yeah. And I was very professional. I worked super hard. I said, of course I will. Goes, have a few days off. He lets me fly home, bring the wife home. I trained every day. I flew back. after my suspension, starts me, and I score for him in the next game. But that's just priceless. Any other coach would have told you to get stuffed. I wanted to do more for him. A few months later, I go knock on his door and said, Gaff, why'd you bring me here? And funny story, I played Palace 4 times in 6 months with Bristol in the back end of the season. So I got there in January. We had 2 games left against them, but then we had the 2 playoff games. And in that period when we played them, especially the 2 playoff games, I kicked the shit out of Sean Derry and Ben Watson, who was both phenomenal players. And Sean Derry was the tough man.
Tough boys, yeah.
Watson was a footballer and went on to the Prem and a phenomenal player. But Derry was a tough man of the team, and I kicked the shit out of him at the start of the game in the away leg, and we did well that game and brought it home. But I'd kicked him. He paid £1 million for me at the time because I'd kicked a few of his players. And that's the truth of the story, because I did not suit his footballing style at all. Although he knew what he wanted. So I don't say he was a bad coach. He was a super coach. He knew what he wanted and the style he liked to play. It didn't suit me.
Your style, yeah.
But loved him.
Was there... He's known for a hairdryer treatment.
Or just funny comments,
Or
right?
just funny comments. Like, do you remember a time where he completely lost his shit in the change rooms?
Mate, he'd always lose his shit in
so
the
every
change
week.
room. But he won you over. So he went above and beyond. Look, mate, I got fond memories of him. I don't think his blastings were ever personal.
Yes.
I've had managers in the past that their blastings are personal, and I don't agree with that. But he lost his shit when we weren't playing well, or we weren't doing the things he wanted to.
I think my favourite line that
It was never personal.
Was when he goes, the guy's bleeding, he's like, go and run a bath, son. You're going to make me sick.
Mate, he was brilliant. I remember pre-season he took us to where he had his holiday place, and he had a golf course on his place there. And yeah, mate, he was unreal. A lot of time for him. So I like seeing all the stories and what's said, because I got to live that. But absolutely loved him.
Can I just ask before we move on the timeline? Nick, you've gone basically from saying I'm almost going to quit football to national team to Bristol. What's happening for you mentally at that time, and how are you sort of dealing with? How's your perception of football changing through that period?
Well, I always loved football. The only reason the thought of quitting football was because the family meant more to me. So it wasn't a choice because I didn't love the game. I just didn't think any amount of money was worth not seeing the family. So that was really tough for me. But no different to any other football, the highs and lows of football. And whenever I'm talking to young kids, it's making sure they're mentally prepared, the highs and lows of football. Gone from playoff final to camp, thinking that I was going to be a part of a World Cup squad, to be, I'm pretty sure it was only me and Scotty McDonald that got cut. Or it might have been one more, to jump on a plane to go a World Cup. From going in the top 5 of the league, debuting for Australia, to missing out on the Olympic team. So it's trying to manage the highs and lows of football. And at that point, I was on a massive high, move after move, although it wasn't all smooth sailing at Bristol. I found myself in a position where I was trying to win the coach's son's position. And please, this guy was a freak of a player, so I'm not saying I should have.
But it's just hard, though.
It was tough. It was tough. So he's gone on to coach and be a super coach as well. But there was real lows there. I just got brought in from Turkey. We're in a playoff hunt to get promoted and trying to fight for my position where I wanted to play in the middle of the park, where was his son's position. So mentally, I think any period in your career, your injuries, your setback, you score a goal, you do your knee, being at PSG's home ground with a fit young Ronaldinho going, wow, to the week later doing my knee. I think mentally there's a big way to go in terms of kids realising that football's not a journey that you just go up. There's how you deal with your low times.
Matters more than how you deal with the high times.
100%.
Yeah.
Will determine how long and how good your career is.
Before we move on to your other clubs, I'm looking at this Crystal Palace squad. You had some players here.
Mate, wow.
Nathaniel Klein, Clint Hill, Speroni, Derry, Jose Fonch. You had Victor Moses.
Victor Moses, wow.
Oh, yeah, what a footballer. Far
Wow.
out.
And you had a young Wilfred Zaha.
Wilford was at the
Oh,
back end
what?
of my time there. And he was the next big one out of the academy. But I had more fond memories of watching Victor Moses, and he was next level. Give him the ball and let him do what he wants,
Man, he was amazing. I'm a
He
Chelsea fan. He was
was-
amazing for us.
Yeah, and I had him at a young, no pressure. And Warnock was brilliant with him.
Yeah.
Warnock was phenomenal with trusting the young players and giving opportunities and letting them play. But I was blessed. The squad we had there. Poor Ifill. I helped.
there?
Paul. He was with me at Palace. I helped with his move to Australia.
Oh, right.
At the time, made a few phone calls. He wanted to come out, and he ended up coming out to Australia. But I was very close with Paul, I feel. But the squad was next level.
It's
But
all Premier League players.
a standout was Moses and Nathaniel Klein at the time for me.
Even more.
And they were very young at the time.
Yeah, they were kids.
Nathaniel Klein was 16 at the time when he debuted, 16, 17. And trying to get around him at training was just, yeah.
Him and
You
Moses, impossible.
You weren't. And Moses was just give him the ball and let him do what he wanted to do.
Even Darren Ambrose, Neil Dans, Sean Scannell, Freddie Sears, I remember. These
They
are
were
all
good
Premier League
players.
players. They're all Premier League players.
How
No.
would you describe the difference between Australian football, Turkish football, French football, and English football?
Tough question. Where do I sit Australian football in the scheme of things? I think we don't have the depth of quality that they do have in Europe or in the countries I played. I think the depth is a lot more there. I'm not saying we don't have the certain individuals of the quality. I know just the golden era, we had ridiculous amount of players playing there, but the depth is next level there. I played in the championship. I never got to the Prem, but the championship is 10 times the level. Every player that we mentioned, next level players, yeah. So without being disrespectful to us here, I just feel the depth of quality players is a lot greater over there.
Yeah.
Even your first year, like I'm looking at more players now that have, like Dye, Ben Watson, as you said, another Premier League player, Rui Fonch. Man, most of these players went on to play Premier League. That's how good they were. Paddy McCarthy, most of them have gone. That's incredible, man. That's
No,
blowing my
they
mind.
were good players, man, and these were guys at the time playing in the championship.
Yep.
Hence why I'm saying the depth that they had, I felt was far greater than what we got. But over in Europe, South America, Africa, it's your number one sport. Everyone plays it. I know our numbers are the best in junior ranks,
Yeah.
but we compete a lot with different sports where over there it's football. Fox was on all the time.
Yeah. It's all
watched
football.
Every night, Champions League.
Yeah. Match of the day. Yep.
It just, it's on a different level.
It surrounds you. Whereas here, although, everyone's doing a great job, you actually have to try to find it a bit. Even with like the promotion for certain leagues and all that. Whereas over there, even if you don't care about football, you know about it. Because
Exactly
it's just
my
on
point.
everywhere. All your whole family, all your friends watch it. You can even say, I hate football, but you'll still be able to name 10, 15 players in the league. And that is not happening here.
Everyone supported it.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and that's where I find the biggest difference is you're talking about number one sport. So I think we have way too many options here.
How does Sydney FC come about? Because you spent 5 years at Sydney FC, which, besides Olympic, would have been the longest you've ever spent at a club.
Oh, it's a difficult question to answer because in my head, I only wanted to come back to Newcastle.
Okay.
I love Newcastle. Left because I felt I needed to for my career, but not because I didn't enjoy my time there. And my first phone call was to Con.
Is Con the CEO of Jets?
No, the owner.
Oh, the owner. Okay.
Which, by the way, loved Con. Con
Yep.
was the best. Old school, gave you the slaps after the game, broke the plates. Proper old school guy, which I absolutely loved. So much time for Con. And I think it's important to remember people like that who spent a lot of their own money and time in our game.
So you called him first to start. Yep.
Jets was my preferred option at the time.
Yep.
And I do believe had I moved back there, I'd still be living in Newcastle now. Anyway, he couldn't match the money that Sydney were offering me. Tony was looking after me at that time, Tony Rallis, who...
Oh, he was my agent as well.
What a human being, man.
You've got the same agent.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Tony Rallis. I had a lot of agents in my career, and I knew Tony since I was 15 at Olympic, and an absolute superhuman being who I still consider a mate now. Anyway, Con, it just felt like Con didn't really want me, and I couldn't understand it. And I was offended at the time because the money was not comparable. The money was way more at Sydney. I was marquee at Sydney. I'd go as far as saying at the time the offer was half.
Wow.
When I know I was coming to the back end of my career, and I was still willing to go to Newcastle, but I wanted extra years on my deal. So I wanted 5 or 6 years, so I'd retire there, and he would guarantee me. And if I didn't make the money in the first few years, I'd make it
On
at the back end.
Yeah.
But he wasn't budging, and I could never understand. Now I sit back and realise that he wasn't in a position to do that. I think that was his last year of the Jets, and it started the period where they struggled, which I didn't know at the time, and I felt terrible. But Sydney had come through with an offer, and I had to take it. And if you ask me about my playing days at Jets v Sydney, mate, there was a rivalry there. We hated each other, man.
Yeah.
There was punch-ons in tunnels, punches thrown.
Punch-ons when did that?
Walking off, push-arounds. Mate, I think that era was Rudin, Uffy, Bimby. What a squad with your Bimby, Uffy, Dwight York. But the second year, there was a real animosity between the two clubs. Or we made it, whether they felt it or not. They were a big club, the money club.
Yeah.
We had to make that to be able to beat them, which we did in the home and away leg. Broski got sent off on a tackle with Paul Ocon at the time. There was a real grudge. So for me, going to Sydney was like, wow, do I go? So it took me a time to mould in. I found it really tough at the start. I had lots of injuries. So coming in as a marquee, expectations were super high, and couldn't knock the injuries. It was one thing after the other, to the point of the first game of the year, I got stepped on by Partaloo, who's an absolute monster.
That's a huge foot, man.
That is a big
he broke
fucking stud.
he broke my toe, and
Oh, shit.
I kept playing, but I was getting injected to play because in my head I was the marquee. I had to do well and I had to prove myself. So I'd be in the pool every day. I'd train the day before the game, just use my right foot, get put in a room before the game, get injected with painkillers, come in at halftime and get injected. And obviously wasn't playing my best football. I wasn't on the field. So it really took a time for me to get adjusted. Terry McFlynn was the captain at the time, and he was tough. He was a hard ass and always wanted things done properly. Sorry, Bimby was, but Terry was coming through, and he'd been there for a long time, and he was super passionate about the club, where at the start I was like, mate, who is this guy? By the end, I absolutely loved Terry. But I did believe it took me time to adjust to Sydney.
When do you think You had your best year.
The
at
second
Sydney.
season.
The second season. Yeah.
The second season, I felt I had my best year, and I was more myself, and enjoyed my time there, and absolutely loved playing for the club and the connection I had with the club. But I did find that first year extremely difficult. When I look back on it, and we had old school Popper there as the assistant coach, which was tough, man. Was tough. I always knew he was going to be a phenomenal manager or head coach, because he was particular about everything, and your food, what you weight.
Even as an assistant.
As an assistant, man, I was more scared of Popper than I was of our coach at the time.
I won't say who'd told us this, but I had a conversation with someone recently that said with food and stuff, he was very strict.
Yeah, I've heard some stories.
Yeah, mate. Me and Bridger used to ring each other at night and go, "You going to sleep so we don't eat?" Yeah, because I used to look at food and put weight on, man. That's the worst thing that I've done. Gone back to Marconi for the food, man. Oh wow, the food's phenomenal.
Bad club to choose.
So yeah, mate. It was really tough for me that first year. Post that, I really enjoyed playing there.
What's your fondest memory of your time at Sydney? Like, was there a game? Was there a moment? Was there an atmosphere that
No,
you thought,
the
I'm happy?
derbies against Wanderers were next level. They were when they were at their peak. I captained one of them, which was phenomenal for me. I really enjoyed playing with Broski and Bridgie, two close mates, people I loved. So I had some good memories of that. Del Piero coming when I went to the UAE, and coming back to where Del Piero was I guess in awe of Del Piero, although I found it very tough to play at that period, and probably went through my lowest point in my career at that season with Frank Farina, but the awe of getting to play, and lucky enough to see someone like Del Piero at trainings and the level he was at was pretty special.
What was he like at training?
When he trained, you could tell, you'd go, what a player. Remember, he was at the back end, he was old.
38?
38,
Yeah.
39. Well, 38 when he first came, 39 when I played with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, next level, you could see his touches. But he wouldn't train as much with the team. He'd come in at the back end when we're doing the games. He'd do a lot of work on his own, which was understandable.
Yeah.
Which meant I dropped to a deeper position, which was tough for me.
Because I was going to say basically the same position or similar. Yeah.
It's
probably
where I
plays off
like where I like to play, but I was
Yeah.
never taking that spot.
Yeah.
At the time, I got asked to play a more defensive role, which I was more than happy to do. But probably my low point was that period at the back end with Frank, when Del Piero was there. But it's like I said, it had nothing to do with him, just the circumstances, how it happened. A lot of background story, which I won't get into, but a real tough point in my career where I got pushed out of the change room, me and Matty Thompson. I did an interview when I first got to the club, which they said, you're going to be playing in a deeper role, and my answer was, I've never played there, it's not my preferred position, but I'll do anything that the club needs to, and I'll do my best in it. And then I remember coming on as a sub at home, and got interviewed straight after the game, and we were losing. I played in a deeper role, but I pushed forward a bit more because we were losing. I was trying to chase the game. Felt I played really well when I came on, by the way. And the same question got asked to me, are they getting the best out of you playing in a deeper role? And I said the same answer. But there was background stuff going on which I wasn't aware about. Old agent that got involved with Frank and the CEO at the time, and a crew of players that came in. Actually, funny enough, when the player was going to get signed, I played with him in Turkey, and they asked me about him. He was a young boy when I was in Turkey, and Frank called me and said, you played with this guy, what do you think of him? And I said, that's a massive mistake from a cultural point of view. Wasn't professional, wasn't the type of player you wanted around the group. And he said, well, I've already signed him, so if the club asks you, just say that he was good. And that was Frank Farina. So I went from, in that pre-season, being captain to getting pushed out of the change room, which was really tough, being pushed to train with the youth team. It lasted a week because the PFA stepped in and they couldn't. But I didn't play no matter what I did at the back end of the year. I couldn't get in the squad.
We don't have to get into the nitty gritty, but the reason that you think you were pushed out, was it because someone had come in your position, or was it this particular player that they signed?
No, it had nothing to do with my position, playing, not playing. I think they use that narrative
right
to say that's why we put him out.
Yep.
But the narrative was there 6 months ago when I'd answered the question the same. We weren't doing well. They needed to point the finger at someone. There was a certain agent at the time that was bringing his players in, which was my agent years before that took me to Turkey. Trying to get out of Turkey was very tough with him, so we parted ways. Without going into details, I saw him at a hotel in Melbourne before we played Melbourne Victory. I'd come off the bench. First time I'd been benched under Frank. I come on, scored, spoke to Frank post-game or pre-game. He was at the hotel. I remember telling my mate, let's go outside. I ended bad with this guy. I didn't want to see him. He walked out. We exchanged a few words. And the week after, I was out of the team.
You mean when you say you exchanged a few words, you mean like
we had an argument,
some kind of conflict?
Yeah, we had an argument with the agent.
Yeah,
and he had a lot of pull at that time. He'd brought in all different players, 4 or 5 different players, which one of them I didn't feel was a good fit from when I played for him. Which the other boys were phenomenal; they were good boys. Nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
But he was very tight with the CEO at the time. I ended up having an argument with him. Frank Farina that night praised me because I called him after the game and said, look, Frank, if you don't mind, do you mind if I spend the night? Got family up here in Melbourne. My wife's here. I'm going to go for dinner with them and go stay the night with them. Is it all right if I do that? And he said, no problems. Just want to commend you on how good your attitude's been. I know this is the first time you've been dropped under me. So I got praised for my attitude being so good. Captain earlier on in the year. I was I got played captain a few times till a week later having that interview and the next day getting kicked out of the change room. So
that's crazy.
The CEO at the time, I believe, had a big part to play with it, with the coach and the agent. As football does, stories come out later on, and once I'd left the club, I gave the CEO a call and told him what I thought of him and what I knew, what had happened, which for me was a low point.
How old were you in your last year at Sydney? 2015?
32.
Okay, so 32-year-old, I don't know if it differs. I'm sure it does with mentality and stuff. You are a seasoned veteran in the A-League. Everyone knows who you are. The respect is there. Getting told to train with the youth team would be much different than a 24-year-old or 25-year-old.
That was the year before. So that was the year before.
Yes, sorry.
Frankie got sacked.
Yeah.
My dealings with Frank over my career, I got left out of the Olympic team, and the time at Sydney weren't obviously favourable, and I'll leave it at that.
Yep.
But Arnie came in, and what a breath of fresh air. He pulled me in a meeting and said, mate, what the hell happened? Because I'd worked with him before and I'd seen him develop as a coach throughout his career. I'd had him at different episodes of his career, and for me, he made me want to play that year again. My last year before my injury. And he was an absolute gentleman. We sat down, had a chat, and he goes, I would have never pictured you to be portrayed as a bad apple of a change room. And I had a year or 2 years contract left at the time. And we sat down and I said, give me pre-season. If by the end of the pre-season I'm the bad apple that you've been told, get rid of me. I'll walk. I'll rip my contract up and I'll walk. And he still had some coaching staff from the previous year.
Yeah.
And I had told him, I said, be careful. And by the back end of the year, he'd realised what I'd told him. I felt he understood it. But by the end of the pre-season, we sat down and spoke. And although he was very honest at the time, he said, look, in terms of playing, remember I was 32 going on to 39, 40 with my body. I'd started the pre-seasons at 15, 14, the hill runs and the old school stuff. So my body wasn't holding up right and I wasn't an athlete, but he gave me the respect I deserved. And I remember a private conversation we had on that day around when he said to me that, no, mate, you're phenomenal. You've been good in the change room. You're going to have to fight for your position, which I had no issues with. But we spoke about the captaincy that day and whether he had picked his captain already, whether he hadn't, the respect he gave me to speak to me about it, and he made the decision that we discussed, made me feel a part of it again, and absolutely loved him for that. He treated me like a pro again. I loved the game again, and I did my ACL that year. The mismanagement I got after that, which eventually retired me, was part of it, but that's football.
Before we get on to the next topic, we need a short ad break. I do want to give a massive shout out to LAC Athleisure. They are dropping these new tees. Let me move. There you go. So go check them out on their
beautiful
website.
Green.
It is a beautiful green and it's a beautiful fabric as well, might I add. I'm very cool in this. And then Rash, tell us about what you are wearing over there.
Yeah,
my
we
good
got
sir.
our trusty Armadura kits over here. Shout out to Nick and the rest of the gang out there that sort us out with these. And if you are a state league or NPL or community level club out there looking for someone to do your juniors, seniors, whatever you want, staff, your kits for next season or this season, look in the description below. These guys are fantastic. This obviously the designs are amazing. We keep talking about the designs. Virgil Abloh of Melbourne is there over there at Armadura, but also the comfort and the fit is great. So
guys, yeah, if you want to check out Armadura, it'll be in the show notes as well if you want to get your club sorted for next season, because next season will creep up quick. Pre-season will already start in summer, so make sure you get your stuff sorted. When did you finally make the decision to...
It got made for me.
It got made for you.
So I'd done my ACL in Melbourne, and my thought process was I was 32 at the time. I wanted to play till I was 35. Maybe a little bit delusional of me at the time because my body was feeling it, but my mindset was do everything right to be able to play out and finish playing. I felt after a 17-year career at that point that I deserved to finish playing. There was two other boys who had done their ACL ahead of me. I was the third one.
what?
So I was behind in the rehab, although I was ahead in my strength test. So when they were doing the testing, I was testing super strong. I had strong legs, as you mentioned before.
Yeah.
There you go, Jake.
They didn't realise that. I think I was 10 weeks post ACL. I was bounding, leaping, doing what the guys ahead of me were. And I was doing a warm-up at 10-week post at Sydney Football Stadium. It was my first week of being on field. I did the warm-up with them and then went into my own runs. And this was 10 weeks post an ACL. Went into runs that the physio had given me to do. I was halfway through the runs and turned around and said, mate, I'm getting a lot of pain in my knee. Went inside, saw him. He goes, it's natural. It's your first week back on field stuff. Rest up, you'll be fine. By the time I got home that day, which was around an hour drive, I couldn't move my knee.
Shit.
So for the next 5 or 6 weeks, they kept saying, go back into the gym. I was doing all my gym stuff. The team was coming up to finals period, so I wasn't a priority, if I can put it that way at the time. And I was swimming. I couldn't do nothing else. I was swimming and still thinking that I was going to get back into it, and wasn't getting better. We go up, play our semi-finals or finals that year in Melbourne. Post that, I went into the physio and went, wait, this is a joke. It's been a good 6-8 weeks. My knee's not getting better. Something happened that day and my knee's gone. Anyway, they sent me for a scan and I was on my feet too early and I got bone bruising from it, which ended up retiring me. They said, how long's a piece of string? 2 years later, retired already, still could not run without pain. Ended up having an operation that they got rid of all the bone in my knee, which officially retired me, but the bone bruising just didn't go away.
Wow.
Well, that's so weird to me. I've never heard of bone bruising being like a nightmare, like a 2-year thing. What is that normal?
Mate, it's when I went and saw a specialist, it's how long's a piece of string.
Right.
And it just couldn't get better. 2 years later, I got invited to a charity game, which I went and did, and I started to run. I'd put on a lot of weight at that point. I couldn't even control a ball, and I turned around and still had pain. Went into the specialist and said, I want it opted on because I'm still in pain. And I couldn't run, couldn't do anything. So I went and got operated on. I got a hole in my knee now, where they took the bone out. And that was it. After that operation, I got told I couldn't do any activity like at a professional level as how I'd done before. Which, by the way, post-football, I promised myself I'd never run a day again in my life. So it sort of
Pros
worked.
and cons.
Yeah, it worked in that way.
So that's based off basically one training session, doing a bit
that
too
week,
much.
That week of training.
Yeah, okay,
I was bounding, leaping.
Far out.
But that day I felt the pain. Like I did the whole warm-up with the team, the 2 lines, bit of Sheva, then went into my running. And halfway through the run, I walked out and went, I'm in agony.
That's why I don't do that. I've always said, I
that's
told you, that's why I don't do that stuff,
Why he doesn't do anything.
Yeah, that's why I'll play till I'm 60.
Yeah.
A few more and then we'll wrap. Talk to us about your role now with Marconi. How are you enjoying it? And what are your goals, I guess, for the position that you're in?
Look, I'm early days into my new job or my new role. Back end of my career while I was playing, I started coaching my son, my oldest, at Marconi at the time. Funny enough, a photo came up the other day of one of the teams I had when we were there, and my son with the rest of the players, and you had Oaks, Paulie's boy, Ocon's boy,
He's
and
looking
Yuli.
Looking the good. Oh, yep.
So I got a photo with me,
Hell the boys.
and them being 5, 6, 7-year-olds at the time playing. By the way, Yuli as a kid was next level, ridiculous. Paulie's boy as well, but Yuli was special when he was young. But I did it because I was coaching my son.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved working with kids. I remember as being back at play, I was a guy that stayed back the longest signing autographs. I was always really good with kids. Thought start doing this. So start doing that, which I really enjoyed. Finishing my career, I invested in a futsal centre, which I had because that was one of my dreams. I grew up Bonnery Gindle soccer playing.
It's so important. If someone ever decides to have kids with me, right?
Yeah, so if you're listening out there, pay attention to this.
Pay attention to this because this is very important. If I have a son or a daughter, they are playing futsal all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it's just...
Mate, it was phenomenal. We created this centre, the amount of games we were having, kids' games coming through there. I was there for a year. Unfortunately, my wife got pregnant with my 4th kid. And and the vision was different to mine in terms of one of the partners I had. So I felt it was best I moved away from it and got offered a JDL SAP under 9s to 12 TD role at a small club at SD Raiders. Mind you, it was not even Macca's money at the time. But wanted to give back to the game.
Yeah.
And I was at a big club like Marconi, but I was doing it for the love then. And I went to SD Raiders, which was only a club that had been around for a year or two at the time, and slowly went from the TD, which hated the club side of the organisation, loved being on fields. That's where I feel most comfortable, to taking over the youth, taking over seniors in the boy space, and Catherine running the girl space, and with a lot of good people that I brought in and a lot of help, we managed to take a club that no one knew, SD Raiders, in a 10-year period to
Australia Cup.
Australia Cup, getting promoted. I left just before they got promoted, but I do believe the groundwork we put into that in the last 10 years, that was going to happen, to the top league in NPL 1, to the top 2 or 3, beating A-League clubs in club championship the past 3 or 4 years there, and I felt our JDL was one of the best in New South Wales. So I'd been there 10 years and built this monster, created this monster with the help of so many good people that I brought in, but felt that my time was done there. I couldn't do any more. It wasn't a powerhouse club that had the backing, the financial backing to go to the next level. They weren't a part of the National Second Division, the Australian Championship. So I felt I'd taken them as far as I could. So I made a decision very early that I was going to move on at the end of the year. I'd spoken to the president and let him know, which was very sad for me because 10 years at a club.
It's a long time.
It was a big...
Excuse my ignorance there for just going into Marconi and not asking about SD, because I heard you were there, but I didn't know it was for 10 years.
Yeah,
It was a big part of what I did.
Can I ask what, for administrators and the community clubs and state league clubs and NPL clubs, what do you think were the key things that you changed or implemented in there to help the growth of that club?
The culture.
Yeah.
Culture. Although I believe I know football and I'm really good with the kids coaching, and I think I can put on a good session, I think the culture that we implemented, I had a no dickhead policy, which I felt was super important. I had a certain mannerism that I believed you should speak to kids with, which I'm very passionate about.
What is that?
Well,
can you go into that?
Definitely not old school, very new school, praising as opposed to hammering to get reward. So kids want to please us. I hate for kids to play in fear. I want them to be creative. If you came to watch my JDL programs, you'd see kids dribble everywhere, back to...
Good.
And I think the culture of everyone doing extra for the common goal of the club being bigger and better than anyone else was a main reason we were so successful, because, and I say it very respectfully to the club, it's not a known club in name. Now in the NPL in Sydney, the last 10 years, there's been a lot more knowledge of it and it's a brand. But when I first started there, I worked at a school and I still work at a school and would ask kids to come play with us at the club and they'll laugh at us. We're talking, they were NPL 4 seniors at the time, didn't have a youth program. That the association had a youth program. The club didn't have a youth program. Then when it did, the second and third year, I'd go watch the youth and I'd be doing the JDL and they were NPL 2 and I'd be ripping my hair out going, am I associated with this football that was being played, and I just couldn't get my head around it, and made mistakes along the way, a lot of mistakes along the way, learnt a lot, but because it was a smaller club, I felt I learnt my trade, but the culture I built there was the main thing to why we were so successful.
But we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, where Jake, brashly said, "Where the fuck is the golden generation?" Like that is Nicky's era.
Yeah.
We need more of that, of players that have played at the highest, the top leagues in the world, to help clubs like SD become what they've become today. Because if more people were doing that, imagine how quickly the whole scene would grow. Like it would be phenomenal. But it does take a lot of, like you said, there were times where you thought, "Fuck." Like
It was tough. But look, where I was lucky is I got to do it my way because it was a small club.
Yeah.
Which I got to learn.
And that's also
my
your
mistakes,
learning, right? Yeah.
Learning. So for me, I couldn't be around. Arnie was a coach when I retired, and he called me in for a few sessions, but mentally I couldn't be around that scene because I was injured. I felt I got mismanaged, not by Arnie, by the physio at the time, and I wasn't cared about, and it was really tough for me to stay at that level. I took it all back and went to the lowest level and built myself up from TD in the club to coach in the first grade, helping us get promoted for our youth getting us promoted for our youth to get into NPL1 at the time was all part of the journey to realising I couldn't do the coaching the first grade, and the TD was a massive learning curve for me. I felt I was not doing the right thing by the youth at the time. And then when club championship came in, then I wasn't doing the right thing by the first grade. So I had to make a decision. 10 years post, super successful, but I felt I'd reached my peak. Explained it to the club, put up a post because I really felt I had to let people know I wasn't going to be there the following year.
Out of respect, yeah.
Well, a lot of people were there for me.
Yeah.
A lot of people were there for me, and it was hard because it was a smaller club, and I knew at any point that I left, it was going to be tough for the club, which was really tough for me to make a decision on. When probably the last 2 or 3 years I felt I'd reached the best I could with the club, but I'd sign a player for the following year. Once I signed him, I had to stay. So I felt like I was in a period of staying, but I wanted more. I needed more. I'm ambitious, and if I don't have something that gets me excited, it's tough for me. Anyway, we put up a post. I had no plans of any club. In my head, I felt I'd done enough to probably go to an A-League club or somewhere bigger. I never wanted to go sideways or backwards. You ask me now, I would never rebuild another club. I wouldn't put 10 years of my life into a smaller club again. I've been there, I've done that. It was phenomenal, but I wouldn't do it. So I really limited myself to opportunities of working, but I knew I was done in that space. Had no job, made the decision, put up a post. That same afternoon that I put up the post, I got a call from Club Marconi, and I'd built a massive rivalry between the clubs. Yeah, we're in the same area. It was the biggest club. They'd get our players all the time because of the name. So I had to build a rivalry. But I'd played for the club and I'd coached there, so I'd always wanted the club to do well. And got a phone call that day. They were at my house the next morning, and I spent the next 3.5 weeks negotiating with them.
That quickly, a day after, or the same day?
The same day.
You know what's funny about this situation? I remember when me and Jake were in Brisbane doing the draw for the Australia Cup.
Yeah, you stuffed up.
Yeah, we stuffed up.
What do you mean?
Because we had said Nicky was at SD, but you had just moved to Marconi.
Yes.
Oh, right.
But I sort of feel a little bit justified now if that's how quickly
Right.
the move happened. Because then I remember people tweeting us saying, no, Nicky Carle just left SD Raiders.
Right.
And I was like, fuck. But then you're telling me that it happened that same day is crazy.
Well, yeah, that's when they started talking to me. And in hindsight, if I look at it, because there's rights and wrongs everywhere, isn't there? We all make mistakes. Probably the thing that I did wrong, and I could have done better if I had my time again, was in my post I had mentioned that let's see the back end of the year out and finish the season off. So I let everyone know I was going.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see the season out. At the point I posted that and did it, it was generally what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
As things happened, an opportunity came up. And for perspective, when I felt comfortable to give up Raiders was they brought out a 2-year rule that the youth can't get relegated for 2 years.
Right.
That's when I made my final decision that I always felt when I left Raiders it was going to be a tough, because I was so involved and so hands-on, that it was going to be tough for the club. So that made me feel comfortable, because it was never going to be an easy time for the club when I left, because I was so invested in it. But that 2-year rule made me feel comfortable. So at the time, we were second in club championship, weren't getting relegated. Seniors were pushing to get promoted, and that was my final tick. Yeah, that's all I wanted. And I'd speak to our first grade coach that I'm very close mates with, saying, get me promoted and that's it, I'm done. It was a joke the last year, just guys get us promoted and I quit, I promise. But 3.5 weeks of negotiating and Marconi being in a position when I went to him, they were last or second last and getting relegated in the youth. So I know why they came for me at the time. I felt, being an old club, although I was a part of the reason they were in that position, I needed to do my best in keeping them up. Actually, funny enough, during the negotiations, we were playing Marconi in the youth space. So obviously they're looking at getting relegated, Marconi. SD Raiders are sitting second. They're talking me to go over, and I'm playing them. So you could imagine how hard that day was.
Fuck dealing with that.
Luckily enough, in hindsight, we won 13s, 14s, 15s, 16s, and drew 18s. And 18s was a sad day because one of my favourites in the club did his ACL that day, a player. So I spent we moved the game from one field to the other. I didn't get much time watching the 18s game, but we beat Marconi in most age groups, which I was really worried had results not gone, the perception that could have come out. It just shows that I was invested and doing the right thing by that club till...
Well, you gave 10 years of your life. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Which was really sad, So Marconi approaches me, a lot of hard negotiating because there were certain things that were non-negotiable for me, which the club to and fro, and I made a decision post the game that we played each other. They called me in, they said, you got to come now, we're about to get relegated, there's 13 games to go at the time, you have to come now. If you want the job, you come now or you don't come. So I sent an email to the club. I'd spoken to the closest people that I had at the club at the time and told them what was going on. Unfortunately, the president was overseas in Italy, so I'd sent him a message, but we hadn't spoken. But the board people knew about it. Sent an email and had to resign effective immediately. But I went to somewhere where I didn't have my coaches. I couldn't bring in players. I had to work with what was there, and had to get this crew to believe in trying to keep the club up without being able to offer them retentions. because we were in a situation where we were going to get relegated. It was ridiculously tough period for me, where I found the passion for Marconi because he was a challenge.
Yeah.
My old club, I didn't want to see him get relegated, and the CEO at the period was phenomenal with me. He stood by me in a period where I wanted to give the game up, and made me want to get Marconi back to where it should be. Marconi growing up for me was the place that would go to hang out because there was thousands of people there walking around. Everyone knew you went to Club Marconi, but to play for Club Marconi, you were the real deal, and Marconi was the best youth program out there. So I want to get it back to those days, and I believe I can. Obviously, it's going to take time, and obviously there's the challenges within the youth space of A-League academies, and I'm ambitious, so I want to be the best. I want to be better than the A-League academies. That's just me. Whatever I do, I want to be the best. But I got a club like Marconi behind me now, which it won't take me 10 years. It'll take me 2 to 3. And then as tough as that period was, it was a challenge, and it got me excited to have to win games, and it made me go against all my principles in football. To put it into context, our under-14s team, which I openly say today, the team I most enjoyed working with, I've ever worked with. I walked into a bunch of kids that in 18 games had picked up 4 points, conceded 67 to 68 goals and scored 8 goals.
Jesus.
Yeah, to put it into context, with 12 games to go and midweek, I went and watched them play against Manly, and I walked in the change room post-game, and I promised them that the one thing I'll do for them is make them defend better, because I saw a deflated group. I saw kids that hated football, and what I mean by I had to go against my principles and the way I play, because I honestly believe if I kept playing football with them, the same results would have happened. We sat a deep block, we played counter-attack football, and had them structured, and credit goes to the coach at the time, because Johnny Fazio, the coach, if I was in his position, I would have told me to get stuffed 4 times over. Yeah, I wasn't allowing his kids to try play football. I dominated on game day. I stepped in on game day to help the kids. At training, we were teaching them how to defend. I was on field teaching them how to defend against all my principles of play. Yeah,
absolute opposite to how you
Got
played.
Neil Warnock.
Yeah,
he was, well, hence where I got my inspiration from.
Called up Neil.
It was funny enough, I had a striker that was super dominant in terms of physical attributes, and was physically not there. He wasn't the fittest guy, so I literally sat him in between 2 centre backs and told him he wasn't allowed to defend, but wasn't meant to stand there. Ball wasn't allowed to go across the back line, but the minute we won the ball, he had to be active. And the last 12 games, because the rest of the teams were doing okay, not great, not bad, but I felt if I fixed this team up, would survive. Had I left that team, we would have got relegated. That team went on to pick up 17 points in 12 games.
Oh my God.
I don't know the stats on goals, but apart from one game, which was the second game in charge, where they lost their head because they conceded an early goal off a set play and they were ill-disciplined, those boys were next level for me. And then, again, I'll say it openly, I brought 13-year-olds up to start in the 14s. I dropped a boy that was playing up to play 2 games. So I manipulated what I could, and much to what I don't agree with and didn't like, we left kids on the bench and they weren't getting good minutes if we had any chance of winning the game. The minute I saw the game was done and we'd lost, I'd give everyone minutes. But it was a tough period. And I felt, on hindsight, going back and looking at it, I got it right by helping that team. We managed to stay up on the last day, and our stats were far better as a club for those last 12 games. Before that, we're averaging a point a game. The back 12 games were on 1.25 a game, which kept us up at the time. And that 14s were a massive part of keeping the club open. Pizza nights, I think I bought the kids 3 pizzas. With clean sheet, you get pizza. They sent me broke, those kids, but they were brilliant. But although I felt, and it's not being disrespectful to anyone, I didn't feel the standard of the player was anywhere near what I expect or demand for NPL1 and to be at a club like Marconi. I had a really close bond with those kids and absolutely loved them.
Does Sydney do the group? Is it across all age groups?
I'm not sure if Football New South Wales do that.
It's 14s to 18s in...
The combined average...
Combined is 14s to 18s in Sydney. So where you rank with 14s to 18s, hence why I depleted my 13s. My 13s had some good players.
So we've just brought that in next year. Victoria never did that.
It's a slippery slope, man.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it.
Can I just ask you this is a bit of a curly question, but the way I understood what you just said there was there's a huge consequence to failure in this scenario because that team's going to drop down or the whole club's going to drop down, right? The juniors, right? And then in that scenario, players stop getting game time. Yep. The best players play. Players get moved out of position.
Best players play isn't a bad thing because I do believe in a youth development program. Not everyone is going to make it. You need to ID players. You need to push.
So this is exactly my question because we're looking at promotion relegation, saying we need it in the A-League and stuff. But the position we're in right now, young players get to play a lot.
Yeah.
Because there's no consequences if there's failure.
Yeah.
Right. Where do you sit on that? Do you think from a junior perspective, you need the consequences, real life consequences, so that a player understands?
No, but there is
time
real
to
life.
Perform?
There is real life consequences already in youth football without promotion relegation. So you got finals. I remember playing as a kid. I lost a game. I wanted to kill someone.
Oh yeah.
I was nasty when I was a young man. I forget my attributes as a footballer. The one thing that I believe as a player was the attribute that I had that made me go as far as I did was I was a winner. So I believe everything should be about winning and losing every training session. And you don't have to punish a kid for losing, but if you reward a kid for winning, kids want to win. Kid always should want to win.
Always.
You should never take that out of them. So there is consequences. Finals are consequences. You don't come in the top 4, you don't make finals. They're there already. Relegating clubs because you lose, I don't think is the right way. Where Football New South Wales have gone into a phase where they're going to go into criteria. Whether I agree or disagree with the criteria, we still have 25%, which is deemed on club championship, which I disagree with.
That's promising. Not.
What's that? I didn't understand what that is.
So, and I was part of the technical committee that pushed for criteria. Depends, again, the criteria, where you mark it, what you see. Everyone's going to have a different opinion. I felt criteria, club championship should have gone full stop in youth, and it should have gone to a criteria model. But in our criteria, 25% of it for the next few years is still based on your club championship result. So after 2 years...
What's the other criteria?
Oh, there's so much that goes into it. Facilities, infrastructure, philosophy. So a lot of good stuff, man. I was part of the group that did it. I would have got rid of the club championship full stop.
That other stuff makes sense.
Youth football in the last 4 years, 5 years when this club championship was in has been, to say bad is an understatement.
That's why I'm not confident, because Victoria's about to bring in that model.
But is it just criteria or just promotion relegation in youth?
I don't know if it's criteria. I think it's just whoever finishes.
It's results.
It's
Yeah,
results.
Just results.
Just results. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mate,
We spoke about this. I don't know how I feel about that, man.
the stuff you'll see on the sideline. And back to your point, I don't believe there's a bad thing of making kids merit their position and reward them for doing well. But remember, we're in a user pay cycle here. So we're in a user pay economy. If you have a kid and not play him, he ain't going to get better.
Yeah. And you're
People are
gonna
paying.
Parents pay $5,000.
Yeah, but I understand the parents, and I've been on the other front where I haven't played the kids, but the parents are paying.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one where what yous are going to see in the next few years is what we saw in the last 4 or 5 years, the abuse to refs.
Wonderful. Because more's on the line.
The stress of coaches who are abusing kids. I got into an argument a few years ago. I'm not going to mention clubs, and I'm someone who, once you treat a kid bad, you're done for me. I'll have no more respect for you, full stop. But there was a kid that came off the field and a coach grabbed him, dragged him, and his exact words, if I effing talk to you, this kid was 13 or 14 at the time, if I ever talk to you, you effing listen. And I lost my buns of beans. I jumped up and had a go at him, and he goes, don't get involved, it's not your kid. I said, his parents are on the other side. Wasn't even on my team.
Yeah, that's
he's a kid, don't you dare talk to him like that. Got into a verbal, and I got no respect for that, but that was a part of the pressure that coaches were getting to win games. And I'm not saying pressure on the players isn't good. They got to step up, take penalties. They want to win, or else they're not going to make semis. But to be relegated as a club in youth is not something I agree with. And you'll see the behaviours change. Mate, I went to a deep block and was playing counter-attack football.
just to stay up.
Mate, our number of passes before scoring was 2 or 3. If that. It was literally, you're not allowed to pass the ball. It's get it in behind.
Because it was do or die.
Because it was do or die.
That's it. Rash, you want to make...
Oh, mate, we could have another podcast
Yeah,
on just that
we
topic.
might
It's
do a
good-
whole nother pod on
it's
it.
a good point, because we're going to talk about this promotion relegation thing, and I didn't even consider the side of now that's gonna cause a lot of problems with the parents now. I didn't even think
man.
about that side.
Because-
If we already had fights,
Bro, think about it, right?
Far out.
Think about it. If I'm 15 and I play my year with my age group, whatever the fuck it is, and my team gets relegated, that's next year's problem that are coming up. If I'm moving up in age groups and my team is wherever it is in the league, that's all you got to worry about. It's one team. But a whole club, no wonder why you were playing the way you do, because it's like if a whole club goes down, that's how many players, how many parents, the reputation, it's all just gone on steroids.
and ultimately, there's going to be situations, we'll get into this, but there's going to be situations where it's the under 14s team and they need a win for the whole club, and it's one game and the whole club's going to be there.
But the effect after it is that club loses all its players.
Yes.
A common denominator of this is clubs have then nearly got relegated again because parents will leave like that.
Yeah.
Back to back.
Back to back.
Yeah.
Because how do you recruit then?
Yeah. Yeah.
But to my point, I managed to keep them safe. Much to the disgust of a lot of people, let me tell you. And they'll know who I'm talking about. I'm telling you, there's a few clubs that
The shoe fits.
would have been very worried and not want us to stay up. I'm super proud of the fact the kids managed to keep the club up. And now it gives me an opportunity to start working, putting in the infrastructure. A big reason of going to Marconi, because I felt I was ready for the next step, was Australian Championship Club.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm absolutely loving. I'm also blessed in working with a first grade coach who was my first captain I ever had, and have fond memories of. So I feel very lucky to be working with him, and what is a powerhouse of a club, a powerhouse, facilities, infrastructure, club.
They've always been the one we've heard about in Melbourne, even
Mate,
before we were in this world.
It's next level, and we're blessed that we got the social club next door. So it's my job at the moment as head of football is obviously bringing in the programs for juniors. Sir Kenneth is the boss in the senior space, which I respect very highly and love the work he's doing. And with all due respect, before I came into the club, that was the space that was doing really well. So he won it last year, finals this year. He'll go far in the championship this year, I believe. So that space is ticking along very, very well. And looking really excited as to what we can do with this championship. I'm a big believer from the start of the conversation in terms of numbers of kids that get opportunities. If this works and it becomes a full-time league and you can get your youngsters being full-time professional at a young age, you'll get them ready for the A-League clubs and give them direct sales overseas. I think is super important for the game that we can get this championship working as best we can.
That was absolutely brilliant. I think we've covered all we need to. It sounds like you're doing an incredible job there. I actually can't wait to go tomorrow. I've never been to a Marconi game. I've never been to Club Marconi. So I'm really looking forward to it. They do play Wollongong Wolves tomorrow, so make sure you get down to that one. But Nicky, thank you so much, brother. That was incredible. Don't even know what I'm going to snip it up because there's 100 things. But thank you so much for sharing your journey and good luck with everything you do in the future, man.
No, appreciate it.
Incredible job.
Better than I expected. Let's see if I still got a job the following week.
Sure you will. Suited and booted. Also, Patronies, head over to Patreon. We got so much more content coming out over there. And yeah, man.
Also, merch should be out. By the time this comes out, merch is out. And potentially is already sold out. The first 100 gold hoodies ever of Suited and Booted. Suited and Booted. And guys, these hoodies are the gold standard of hoodies that, by the way, we don't know if we will ever release these hoodies ever again. There's 100 of them. Yeah. If you haven't purchased yours just yet, check in the description below.
Well, 99, isn't it?
99.
Yeah, because I get one for free.
Sorry,
okay.
There's 99
just
hoodies
making
available because Nicky Carle's got one. And if you want to be like fucking Nicky Carle, which you probably do, go get one. Suited and booted. We out. Thank you very much.